Toddler care isn't much better, at close to $20,000. Imagine having a toddler and an infant, as many families do. You add up the costs, it just doesn't work out. So, just like I did 35 years ago, parents today are sitting at the table trying to figure out, do the math, how they're going to afford their family's basic needs, and let alone save for the future education costs for their children. For too many families, it just doesn't add up. And guess what? New York is losing young families as a result. They're moving away, looking for more affordable places where they can find a home, which is why I focus so intensely on building more housing in our state, but also in search of affordable childcare. It doesn't just affect families. This crisis affects our entire economy. When childcare is scarce, businesses struggle to recruit and retrain qualified workers. If they're at risk of losing workers or think they won't find them, they'll just go somewhere else. That's a challenge we must overcome. If New York wants to remain competitive, if we want our businesses and our families to thrive, we have to tackle this challenge head on. And that's why, as governor, I've committed over $7 billion over 4 years for affordable child care. That's why we expanded the Empire Child Care Tax Credit to include kids under 4. I was stunned to realize that it was only available for families with children age 4 and older. And as a new grandmother, I knew the costs of diapers and formula and the clothes they keep outgrowing every few months was so high. Why weren't we helping families when they were getting hit the hardest? So I changed that. Now newborns on up can have their families eligible for this child care tax credit. And it's why we sponsored the employer-sponsored child care program, splitting the cost of care between employers, employees, and the state. But still, too many families are struggling and not getting the support they need. And that's why we're thinking even bigger. As part of my latest state budget, I secured an historic $1.8 billion investment in our state child care assistance program, or CCPAP. This would not have been possible without the support of the woman standing next to me, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. She secured the support, the necessary resources from the federal government, and I want to thank her again for her passion, her tenacity in fighting to bring the dollars back to our state and doing everything she can to help working families. This program connects New Yorkers with free or low-cost childcare. What does low cost mean? Let me tell you what low means. This program covers at least 90% of childcare costs. Let me repeat that. This program covers 90% of childcare costs for families earning up to 85% of the state median income. What does that mean? For a family of 4 earning $108,000 or less, that family will pay no more than $15 a week, saving them thousands and thousands of dollars every year. The State Child Care Assistance Program already serves 100,000 families across New York, and it's making a powerful impact on the lives of those kids and parents. But we have more work to do. There are hundreds of thousands of more families across the state who may be eligible for this program, and we need to reach right now. And we need to make finding and using these resources much more simple. Working parents don't have the time to navigate the bureaucracy, go to in-person appointments, fill out endless forms. They have families to take care of. And that's why today I'm proud to launch the state's Child Care Application Portal. This new online platform allows families to check their eligibility, apply for assistance, and find child care providers to fit their needs without having to take the time and go through mountains of paperwork as had been the case in the past. The entire process takes about 10 minutes from start to finish. We had a pilot program. New York City and Schenectady counties families can already apply online. And starting today, the rest of New York State can join in as well. And we want to make sure people know where to go. Here's the access to it. Make sure you check the website over here. If you're a working parent, go to the website, ny.gov/childcare. This is what we're talking about, getting this information out. Starting today, we'll be distributing palm cards throughout the state with all the information they need and making sure that they have access to this important resource that'll save them so much time. We're collaborating with pediatricians, obstetricians, social service providers to connect families with these as well. Or scan the QR code on the palm card and be directed right to the portal. It could not be easier. So that's what we're doing. Why? By creating these amazing benefits, and New Yorkers don't know about them or how to access them, then our job is far from over. We won't rest until every eligible family has the support they need. We want New York to be a place where parents can pursue their dreams and their children can thrive. And as long as I'm governor, I won't stop fighting for New York families, and especially our adorable children, many of whom I just had a chance to play with down the hall, to give them the very, very best start in life. Because when our families succeed, New York succeeds. And no one knows this better than my friend from Washington, local former member of Congress from this region, knows it well, represents the entire state with a special emphasis on lifting up New York families, women and children. And ladies and gentlemen, let me give you my friend, Kirsten Gillibrand.
Thank you, Governor. Well, I want to thank Governor Hochul for her vision. She's had a vision for families of New York from the very beginning, and it shows in how she's governed, it shows in the policy she's putting forward, and it shows in the announcement today. So thank you, Governor, for your extraordinary leadership and your very thoughtful vision. I want to recognize Victoria Reedy and the Victory Child Care, Inc. for hosting us and everything they do for the kids here. The Governor and I had quite a good time playing with the young kids. I worked with one girl on a puzzle of the earth. I worked with another little boy on drawing a rainbow flower, and the little girl next to him knew every color in the rainbow, which I thought was quite impressive for a pre-Ker. And I want to recognize Aisha Jeter. Your story is extremely important because as mothers, we always face this issue of, can I provide what I need for my children when they need it? And having access to affordable quality daycare, childcare is essential, not just for parents to be in the workplace, but for the children themselves to develop emotionally, to develop intellectually, to develop social skills so they can navigate young play and other kids at an early age. It's actually fundamentally important for their development. So this announcement by the governor today is really inspiring. Having this online mobile-friendly app portal for the Child Care Assistance Program, it's going to be essential. I can tell you, when you're looking for support, dealing with your children and your family, having it be able to be on your phone so you can quickly access those resources, access the application, do the application while you're waiting in line for your groceries or whatever it might be. This is the reality of parents' lives. So making it easier for families to check their eligibility and immediately apply for child care assistance without having to find a printer or fill out a paper application is crucial. This will make the services more quickly accessible for the communities these programs strive to serve and brings our nation's most critical public service offerings into the 21st century. We hope that the ease of this new portal, more families will be aware of the services that are available, the services they're eligible for, and I can't overstate how important 90% subsidy is. I mean, if you're paying between $200 and $400 a week for childcare, that's unbelievable. That reduces your cost to $20 or $40 a week. That is affordable. That is something that every family can afford and access. So I just want to thank the governor for how much she's done. Your efforts to allow child care providers in 10 counties to apply for direct deposit of CCAP funds, also extremely helpful. This will streamline the child care funding process to make these services more available. And we know many parts of this county and Albany County are known to be child care deserts. The governor mentioned that. That means that translates in if there's over 50 kids who do not have access to child care options that are affordable, that defines a child care desert. This child care center is incredible. It's beautiful. They have all the tools and resources young children need to develop, but not every family has access to something this spectacular. So one of the things I work on in Washington is the Child Care for Working Families Act. It provides the scale of federal funding necessary to actually address this child care crisis. It's not a bipartisan bill yet, but I'm going to work very hard to make it so. It would fund childcare on the level that it's needed in the billions of dollars. I also support the Child Care Stabilization Act, which reestablished the American Rescue Plan Child Care Stabilization Program. So what happened during COVID, and the governor and I did events together about this, because families couldn't bring their children to daycare, a lot of daycare centers closed. So pre-pandemic, there was one slot for every 4 kids. In the middle of the pandemic, there was one slot for every 8 kids. So there became a huge challenge. And so post-COVID, we agreed that we had to surge resources to these child care centers so they could reopen, so they could actually afford to be open to increase those slots. So we want to make that investment, that level of investment, permanent, because we found not only did it make a difference, but it met a long-standing need that was there well before COVID. So I will continue to keep working on these issues. I have a really talented child care working group that is creating a whole platform of ideas about how to address these challenges. It includes advocacy organizations, elected officials, government agencies to work together and think creatively. And we will be doing some focused policy ideas over the next few months because of their work. But as you know, parenting is a full-time job, and I just want to thank the governor for this excellent app. It's going to make a huge difference. It's going to make sure more childcare is available to more families, and that makes New York more prosperous, and our families will thrive. Thank you. Do you want to introduce Aisha? Okay. Now we want to bring up Aisha Jeter, who's the parent of a child at Club Fed Child Care Center. Come on up. Tell us your story.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Hochul and Senator Gillibrand, for inviting me to share my story today. My name is Aisha Jeter, and I'm a proud mom of 3 girls, one of which my youngest daughter, Amina, does attend Victory Child Care Center here and has been attending since around June of 2020. As the governor mentioned, Amina was born right before COVID in October of 2019. 3 months after returning to work from my maternity leave, we had faced a shutdown due to the COVID pandemic. During the shutdown, I was approved to work from home, and I removed Ramina from the care program that she was in for health and safety reasons, for her health and safety and the health and safety of my family, and also to save money. During that time, those uncertain times, eventually I was mandated to return to work in person in July of 2020 and was faced with a hard decision to have to find childcare for my daughter in the middle of the COVID pandemic. It was a very difficult decision. It was a very difficult decision and very hard to find childcare, as they both mentioned, to find childcare during that time. Her previous spot was no longer available. My husband and I could not find quality programming that fit our needs and worked with our budget, but desperately needed childcare, or else I would be forced to resign from my position. Thankfully, and I mean that sincerely, thankfully, after a very daunting and discouraging search, we found Victory, whose program aligned with our family's needs, standards, and core values. During and post-COVID, like most families, we faced significant challenges. The cost of everything from gas to rent to groceries was going up, and our income was staying the same. We did not have enough to cover all of our expenses. My husband and I had both exhausted all of our vacation time and PTO, and any quarantine or COVID time that they presented to us due to multiple quarantines from COVID exposures. We were concerned that we would have to remove Amina from care, and one of us would have to become a stay-at-home parent, which neither one of us really could afford. It was here at Victory Child Care Center who told us about the Child Care Assistance Program for working families and encouraged us to apply. Honestly, I did not think that we would be eligible. I thought our income would be too high, we would not meet the income requirements, and we had a family size of 5. Honestly, was not feeling very optimistic about the process, but being encouraged by Victory, we applied anyway. We enrolled right away, and I'm so glad that we did, because now we pay just around $50 each month for Amina's care, which is a tremendous relief on our budget. Being able to bring our little one to Victory, knowing she is comfortable and safe, and without worrying about how we were going to pay for it, has made a huge difference in our lives. That being said, the new applicant and renewal application process was somewhat challenging. It was not necessarily difficult, but not efficient. There was a lot of paperwork and a lot of bureaucracy to navigate even during the renewal period. So I know firsthand that this new online portal is going to be a game changer for working families. Working families who can now access benefits and enrollment information without the headaches of navigating, having to make phone calls, emails, appointments, very difficult when you're working full-time with raising kids. Now, families can have access to these benefits and enrollment information without these headaches by navigating to ny.gov/childcare. I also want to say not to assume, like I did, that you're not eligible because you have a two-income household. If we had not been encouraged by Victory to apply despite our income, we would have missed out on this benefit. Without Victory or the assistance of the Child Care Assistance Program, I truly don't know how we would manage, even to this day. I appreciate Victory and staff for being dedicated, caring, and passionate leaders, especially during COVID. It has been a tremendous blessing to my family, and we are grateful for the partnership in growing our intelligent, well-rounded, and confident child that is beyond ready for kindergarten. Thank you, Governor Hochul. Thank you for championing this program. I'm excited for the opportunity for more working families to take advantage of the financial relief that it provides. And thank you, Senator Gillibrand, for your leadership in Washington. Thank you both for everything you do to support working families, especially my family, who benefited from this program across New York State. Thank you.
Well said.
All right, so while we have the senator and Aisha here, do we have any on-topic questions about childcare? Go ahead, Tom.
Governor, there's been some concerns regarding the workforce to facilitate childcare and programs like this. Are you speaking with the legislature on any long-term, incentivizing staff and solutions beyond just bonuses or things like that?
No, you've hit on something that's really important. We can provide the subsidies to make it more affordable for families to go. We can help the facilities themselves get back on their feet as we have been. But if we don't have the workers, it doesn't work at all. So we have incentives in place. We're going to continue working with the legislature on what that looks like. We're having the same challenges in the healthcare space. And so bonuses is always a start, but also making sure that wages are enough to attract people to go into this field when at a particular time when fast food wages are very high and this becomes a challenge of where people are going to work. So it is something that is top of mind for us on how to solve that, working with the legislature. Good question.
Anything else on childcare?
Governor, the senator, you had those stark stats about the number of slots versus the number of children. I'm wondering what's that current supply level and what effect on supply has this program had if you've been able to calculate it?
Well, this was a program that, again, a lot of people only didn't know about it. Only 100,000 families have taken advantage of it. And to me, that is not a successful program. We are jump-starting this initiative. I would like to be with you 1 year from now and say we've doubled at least the number of families who are taking advantage of this. And awareness is everything. Your reporting on this and getting this out there is an important tool for us to use. So we can get you statistics on how many families, in addition to the 100,000, are taking advantage of it, but also, a facility like this, which has over, where's Victory, 100,000, over 125 students a day, 125. They have a wait list of 400. That is a challenge. And you look at what we're doing as part of our economic development strategy. Since I was lieutenant governor and going around the state talking to businesses under the umbrella of the Empire State Development's REDCs, I have said that providing childcare should be part of a tool to help our workforce. And that's why a place like Micron, getting the incentives they're getting, bringing 50,000 jobs to New York State, our earliest conversations were, we need you to build a child care facility on site. And that's exactly what is going on right now. So there's a different way to approach it. State subsidies supported by the federal government, but also getting more facilities and having the employer engaged in this solution, which I think also makes them more competitive when people are making the decision on where they're going to work. If you take care of your young families at this time when they need help, they will stick with you a long time. So it's a retention issue for employers, and I wish more would see that as a great opportunity for them to help solve this problem in the short term, and in the long term it benefits their outcome.
I got some stats if you want me to get, do you want them? Or
Sure,
do you want us to
please.
give them after the press conference? Do you want me to share them?
Good.
So quick facts. We have 1.3 million children under the age of 5 in New York. There's 4,246 licensed child care centers and 10,460 family care homes in 2023. In 2023, it had a 46% gap in coverage. Federal and state early learning and care programs service 310,000 children and families, or 23% of children under age 5. The average cost of a center-based infant care is $19,584 and $16,383 for home-based infant care. So those are the challenges. Availability. Half of families in America live in child care deserts. So nationwide, it's a disaster. New York, 64% of families reside in child care deserts, and it's mostly rural areas. So for example, we have pretty good coverage in places like Manhattan, Nassau, Westchester counties, but if you look at a place like Herkimer County or Mohawk County, really few. And in those most rural counties, there's 1 slot for every 9 kids that need it. So it's a chronic problem, and so that's why the governor has tried so many things, and a lot of it's working. So her workforce challenges, that workforce retention grant program last summer that she started putting up and running, these grants provided eligible providers with recruitment funding and bonuses for nearly 14,000 providers across the state, so that's real money. We are trying to pass a lot of legislation in the Senate. Again, it's not very bipartisan. We're trying to make some of it slightly bipartisan. That's why I focus so much on flipping the House and holding the Senate so we could actually vote on some of these things. But some of the bills that I'm working on, like Head Start for Our Future Act, would create a robust pipeline for college-educated students to enter the early childhood workforce. The workforce pay is so low. Like an early educator might receive like $35,000 a year, but a kindergarten teacher $65,000 a year. So there's this huge gap between the early childhood educator and the kindergarten. And so my goal is to bring them all into coverage by these teaching salaries and teacher unions. So my goal is to bring them in and to have the representation that they need to get a fair wage. Now, last point on this, if we have to then pay our child care workers even more, the cost of offering child care for infants is going to go up. So that requires the federal government to offer a much bigger subsidy. So one of the points that the governor and I share is that this is the cost of our economy. If you don't have affordable daycare, Aisha can't be at work. If she's not at work, she's not paying taxes, she's not paying into her Social Security. So it's a drag on the economy. So it's the federal government's responsibility to invest in childcare as the basic infrastructure that it is so that people can go to work, because it's not affordable. The folks who work here get paid very little. They're already doing so much with so little. So if we want to be able to have more affordability, the federal government's going to need to do their fair share and actually support childcare. It's one of the biggest issues that I care about in the presidential, in the Senate, and in the House. And it's not really bipartisan right now. So I'm working very hard to get it to be more bipartisan so we can pass some meaningful legislation. Because you can't have a growing economy without childcare. And that's why this event and the governor being here is so important, because we're shining a spotlight on the need. And she's doing great things in New York, and I hope the federal government can match those efforts.
Yeah, Senator, I know President Biden has talked about that, and that is one of the reasons that he's made the case for Democrats in this election. I'm going to transition to an off-topic, but
I'm not
on-topic
here for off-topic.
We're not
discussion.
No, but I'm wondering, do you believe that President Biden is the best person on the top of the
Yes.
ticket to help you get Democrats in
I
control
do.
for this?
So President Biden's done an amazing job in working on a bipartisan basis to get meaningful things done. And not only our big bipartisan infrastructure bill that's funding every huge project in upstate New York and downstate New York, the CHIPS bill that's putting in Micron, we're gonna have a huge investment in the Hudson Valley, I mean, jobs being generated. It's his leadership style that allows people to come together to do these common sense things. And I think he's a great president. I think he's a great presidential candidate. He will defeat Trump. He will kick his butt. And we are all in. And this is a clear choice about what we stand for and what the Republican Party stands for. And I feel very confident that President Biden will be the one to make the investments in childcare part of his long-term economic and infrastructure plan. Because just as Aisha's story tells us, she can't go to work if she doesn't have affordable quality daycare for her kids. And that's true for every parent in America.
All right, recognize, hold on. Recognizing the hunger for hot topics, we have Jennifer Lorenz, who's the Deputy Chief Information Officer.
Senator, you mentioned mobile county.
You can come out.
All right, hold on.
You had mobile county.
Hold on.
Mobile county. So what were you referring to?
It's a childcare desert. It's a childcare.
Avi,
There's no
Yep,
mobile-
all right.
so
mobile
where's,
county.
No, Herkimer and Mohawk Valley. Yes,
All
sorry.
right,
There we
okay,
go.
no
Sorry.
problem.
Yeah,
just wanna make
I
sure
just
you're
read it
right.
wrong. Thank you.
Okay. So now that we
Governor, I did
have,
have a question
hold on,
about this topic.
Rob, hold on. We're gonna transition.
we have just, I really have to get back to my command center to deal with what is unfolding. We took the time to do this, and I will point out the fact that this particular portal is not affected, so this is functioning, but I have to go back and make sure everything else is functioning, including the DMV and other important entities that New Yorkers are relying on. So we literally do not have the time I normally love to devote to this effort of addressing questions from the media, which I do literally, seems like every Friday here in Albany, but at least more often than that. So I wanted to make sure that we address this. This is a major, major public safety issue, and I want to continue focusing my efforts and bringing in the team that's necessary to do this. And so I want to acknowledge also Jennifer Lorenz, the Executive Deputy Chief Information Officer, who also has been up all night working with our teams to restore services. And so we are here to answer those questions briefly, but I really have to get back to the crisis at hand.
Governor, do you have a sense in terms of emergency services and safety, hospital systems and any impact on patients or care in that regard that's been a result of this?
Yes, this has had a widespread impact on hospital systems as well, financial institutions, banks. So our immediate outreach goes right to the hospitals. Most have backup systems, but also backup systems are also not technology-based, they're based on people. Now, there was a time when we functioned with people, whether it's answering 911 calls or addressing patients. So it may go more to hospital billing systems that are affected right now as opposed to directly patient care.
Any other cyber questions?
Any updates?
Yes, we are making progress. Thank you, Governor, for your support. We have teams working since this morning with the Governor's Office and Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. We take this very seriously. We have the full support to engage all of our staff as well as whoever else we need to assist. We do have some services being restored. We are working closely with the third-party vendor and other vendors that are impacted. Again, it's a global issue, so we continue to operate, and I appreciate this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I will tell you, it's early yet as we examine the scope of impact on state services. But as someone who's familiar with DMVs, for example, if someone's registration was supposed to expire today, or their license, or their inspection, that's just one example that there'll be maximum flexibility granted by the state of New York, so no New Yorker is penalized as a result of something that is vastly out of their control and out of our control, and we are trying very hard to get it under control. Anything else? Right.
Governor, I had a question about your, what the press conference was about. Senator Gillibrand mentioned central New York as a problem where there were some areas that didn't have the coverage. What about western New York, Buffalo area, having been in that area? What's the situation like there for childcare?
I wouldn't define it as a desert, but there are wait lists. Back when I was lieutenant governor, I visited many sites. And the number one thing we can do right now is to let more families know the availability of these services, but we also had to provide direct subsidies to childcare facilities, especially after the pandemic, to get them back on their feet. So we can get you numbers on what the wait lists are and then what the amount of coverage is. But the efforts of publications like the Buffalo News and others, hopefully across the state, will let people know, go ahead and print this. My name is not on it, so don't worry about it. Go ahead and print this and let people see that I would love these numbers to go up dramatically, because that's how we're starting to make a real difference.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Governor, why haven't flags been lowered for Corey Convator yet?
We are looking at that for the day of the funeral. Is the
Yeah,
funeral?
we always do it the day of the funeral.
Okay.
Yeah, I had already talked about that for the funeral. When's the funeral? You gotta find out when the funeral is.
We're on it. Governor.
Okay. I said the day of the funeral. Clearly, the day of the funeral has not occurred. Okay, thank you.
Governor,
Thanks,
9
everybody. We're
days
gonna go.
Prison closure, why the tight window there?
That was fun. You're up. Hold on just for 1 second.
Hakeem, doubling down. The ticket that exists right now is a ticket we can win on. There you go.